What does one say to an ancient Nephilim ghost?
I suppose you start with...
I'm kind of a big deal.
Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
Unspeared GR115 speed build at 900 Paragon? Yes, please. What's going on YouTube? It's Filthy, and we're back with another video. Today we've got a speed build for the Necromancer in Diablo 3 Season 31. It is the Masquerade of the Burning Carnival, also known as the Bone Spear Necro. This hits like an absolute truck. I've got a couple of nice pieces, I've got some augments, but it's not fully finished. The gem level's like 116, so plenty of juice on the gems. I think there's some gear swaps that we can do later on into the season to improve this. I could find ancient pieces. Everything is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, so I've got quite high hopes that this will do 120 to maybe 125, depending of course on gem levels, Paragon, playstyle, all that kind of stuff. But before we do go through it, guys, as always, a thumbs up brightens my day. Right, so this is the Bone Spear Necro. With the cube being open, we can make pretty much any Necromancer build extremely powerful because we can just jam modifiers absolutely everywhere. The basic theory of the Masquerade of the Burning Carnival set is that it all revolves around simulacrums and Bone Spear. You're going to need yourself a Haunted Visions amulet because these will mean that the simulacrum lasts forever. When we throw out Bone Spears, we don't do that much damage, but our simulacrums deal a bunch of damage. Unfortunately, they've got the aim of stormtroopers, so you do have to manage them a little bit. Basic way really is if you teleport, they snap to you, and you've got a much better chance of them being in the right position. But these guys will fire sometimes randomly at stuff nowhere near where you're wanting to fire. It's just a little bit how it is. Yeah, you get a lot of damage reduction from the set natively, so whilst you've got simulacrums up, you get 50% damage reduction. Then any damage you do get splits between the two simulacrum. We are going for Reservoir, which doubles our essence pool to give us more damage, but we do get both simulacrum as well, which is great, so we do get quite a bit of damage reduction. The 6-piece, we do 5,500 increase on the Bone Spear, but the simulacrum gain triple that figure, which is obviously pretty nutty. Scythe of the Cycle, mandatory, 400% increased damage whilst bone armor is up. Unfortunately, what the downside of the Scythe of the Cycle, every time you throw a Bone Spear, it'll take 4 seconds off your bone armor, so you can drop it at times. It's quite important to keep this up simply because the 30% damage reduction really does help, and obviously if you don't have this bone armor active, you're not getting your 400% Scythe of the Cycle modifier. We've got the Rylina's Shadow Hook for 0.5% of essence, or 0.5% damage, sorry, for every point of essence, so we can get like 325, 330% damage from that, so it's pretty nice. Maltoria's Petrified Spike, it doubles the essence cost of Bone Spear, so it is a little thirsty. We will talk a lot about resource management and talk about what to do, but it gives 700% increased damage, so again, pretty mandatory. And then the next modifier that we can get our hands on is the Nair's Black Death, 100% damage every time we use a poison skill for 15 seconds. Bone Armor Dislocation is poison, Grim Scythe is poison, and Bone Spear Blighted Marrow is poison. So that's 3 poison skills, that's 300%. And of course, Gelmandul's Marrow, Bone Spear cast from Simulacrum, still 400% increased damage. So again, our Bone Spears don't really do very much, it's all about the sims and where they throw theirs. For your offhand, you want something with nice stats. You're ideally wanting crit chance, Bone Spear damage, a high damage roll, a high intelligence roll, and then you've got one more stat to play with. I'd probably go Vitality very early on in the season because I'm going to recommend using the Guardian set. Once you're past any squishy problems, I would probably move on to area damage. So crit, area damage, Bone Spear, high damage roll will just be dream. You want max essence on the secondary, of course, mandatory, because the Shadow Hook, that is just more damage. Yet another modifier, the Crispin Sentence. This is the nicest one I've found. It's not a good one. You want this damage roll to be like kind of high, so you get up to 100% damage against slowed enemies, triple the effect against any other control impairing effect. That is going to be our stun from Bone Armor, so you can hit the stun and it will really dump out quite a lot of damage with the Crispins, which is pretty nice. Ideally, you want to, it always rolls with attack speed, so obviously you're hoping to get one with attack speed and a socket natively on it, so then you don't have to roll off something for a socket. You're probably going to get stuck with only being able to get like one, maybe two good stats on there, but you know, just keep going. Obviously you want to try and get as much crit as you can. My crit chance and damage are not balanced. These should be much more equal, but I don't think there's much that I can do about it because there's nowhere else that I can roll off. Crit chance for crit damage, you want them about a 10 to 1 ratio really. We've got Zystone of Vengeance. The further away we are, the more damage we do. We also get a small chance, 20% chance of stunning. Stunning activates the Crispin triple effect, which is nice. Bane of the Powerful for flat damage increase once we've popped our first elite, so we are a little slow until we do that first elite. And Bane of the Trapped is just generally more damage. It's more damage at close range because it activates it itself, but we're going to take a passive Rigor Mortis. Poison abilities have a 30% slow. The slow will activate the Bane of the Trapped at range, and obviously we're chucking the Poison Bone Spears. Now, one thing I should say about Poison Bone Spears, 15% increased damage for every enemy this goes through. So obviously the denser and juicier the map, the more damage you're going to do. If you then run that through a whole bunch of area damage on your stuff, then that would be great. Now, I actually don't have much. I've only got one roll on my shoulders. Quad Factor gloves would be very nice, so double crits, area damage, and then probably cooldown. Again, depending on your squishiness, would be good. We of course have to take a Ring of Raw Grandeur to make all of this work, because we're only taking 5 pieces of the Bone Spear set. Again, this drops naturally with life per hit, attack speed and intelligence, so you're hoping to get a socket, and then you can roll off the life per hit for like crit chance, crit damage, whatever it is you need to balance those two things on your stat sheet. Now, I've taken Guardians, and the reason I've taken Guardians early on is because it gives us a doubling basically of our main stat. So my intelligence is 21,000. If I swap back onto 6-piece Bone Spear, it drops to 13. Early on, this is just a modifier, so that's not that far off a double damage modifier. If we take off the Guardians, then we're looking to add on the Convention of Elements. This, again, I've just struggled to find a nice COE this season so far. It's only day 3. Sometimes this happens, you just end up not getting a good one. 200% increased damage for 4 seconds. Necro's only got 3 elements, which is nice. So it damages either 0 bonus for 4 seconds, 0 bonus for 4 seconds, or 200% for 4 seconds. So divide that 200% by 3, and you're getting about 67% damage. So I think at the moment, we're actually getting more damage out of the Guardians, and I think we're getting more toughness, because the only option you've got for toughness then is to take a Dainty's Binding, 50% damage reduction. To get this, you have to have a curse, so you would have to put curse on your bar or hit with your Grim Scythe, because this will just randomly apply any of the Necromancer curses. I find that it is difficult sometimes to get the Aura of Frailty off, particularly on stuff that is throwing mortars at you from a mile away. If you've got something cursed near you, it's fine. 50% damage reduction is good, but other than that, I just find it a little bit smoother to play with the Guardians. You also get the damage reduction from the missiles and melee damage as well, so I think early on it's definitely a choice. Now honestly, later on I'm going to go with Crimsons, I think, rather than doing the COE and 6-piece Bone Spear, for the simple reason that, again, if we look at the conventional elements, yes, you can time your Bone Spear, and yes, you can get your 200% increased damage run through your Crispins for a really big nuke, but honestly I just kind of want to play kind of chill and not have to worry about that. So I'll be going with the Guardians, which will add a lot of resource cost reduction, which will help throw out more Bone Spears. It'll help with cooldown reduction, which will quietly be a little bit more damage, because more cooldown means more access to bone armor, which means more stuns, which means more Crispin's activation, which is nice, and also a little bit more teleport to help get around the map. So that's what I'm probably going to do next, but at the moment, Guardians I think is offering more damage and probably more toughness than the Captains, so that's kind of where I am with that. I would love to org up more of these pieces, but I'm absolutely completely out of gems, trying to get everything. I haven't even rolled up the max armor gem on this. You want armor gems because the Necro as we go up and up in intelligence, gets a lot of all resistance. You just need armor to round that out. Of course, vitality and intelligence are quite nice stats with Guardian, so don't worry too much if you have like vitality on your gloves instead of cooldown. You know, ancient gloves with double crit, main stat, and vitality would be really nice early on. Again, a little bit more main stat and vitality on my shoulders would be pretty good as well. Haunted Visions and the braces, you want to get poison and double crit, and obviously poison and crit chance on your braces. Again, this amulet is nice because it's got double crit on it, but obviously I could get another like 10 or 15% damage if I had poison rather than intelligence. And the offhand, as we talked about earlier, a couple of improvements. Now, essence management, I'm lazy, so I've got Devouring Aura on. This will basically just auto-consume corpses. Now, I play using spacebar as force move. If you hold down spacebar, the Devour will not go off. Yeah, so you've got to let go a little bit. Now, the reason I want to do that is not just for the essence management, because I only really want to be hitting the Grim Scythe just to keep my nares up. I don't want to stop to generate essence, because whilst I'm stopped, I'm not doing Bone Spear. The other reason is that I'm going for 30% move speed by Fueled by Death, so obviously I have to consume corpses to get this, and that's where the Devouring Aura comes in. Now, this is not the best rune to take on this. The best rune to take on this is Cannibalize, and that way you get 3% health back every time you kill something, because we are squishy, because we're a necromancer. It gives me a headache, guys, unfortunately, listening to the necro go ruh, 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 as he tries to do his corpses. It just annoys me. You can numlock this. It is the best way to play. You could turn the sound off, I guess, if it bothers you, but I'm lazy, so I just pick Devouring Aura. So in the footage, you'll see me being a little squishy at times. Final Service, I think, is actually really useful on this build. It's, again, not the ideal passive, but having 2 cheat deaths at the moment, 900 Paragon, I think is handy. Again, more Paragon augments, the toughness will sort itself out, and then you can probably take this off without worrying too much about it. Overwhelming Essence is more damage because of our Shadow Hook, and Rigor Mortis we've talked about. Serration looks like it adds damage. I can't remember if this is just like an additive 20% though, so it might not be amazing. If you are taking Aura Frailty, Spreading Malediction's a pretty nice one, because at times you can get 20-30 enemies cursed and it's a nice big damage increase, but a lot of the time you just can't. Dark Reaping is a good way to manage essence and recovery. 2% life per kill is nice. That's another decent one that you can take. And you can always take standalone to boost up your armor as well for a bit of toughness. So passive wise, there's actually quite a lot of choices. Life from Death is not the worst as well, because obviously the health globes do provide a shield, so again, something to consider, but ultimately these are the passives that I'm running. So that is pretty much it. The playstyle is go into the Rift, pop your Simulacrum to double your essence, hit Grim Scythe to get first stack of poison, then you're looking to activate Bone Armor, get it up to 10 stacks for the damage reduction. Also, it's your second poison skill, and then blast away with your Bone Spear. Try and jump into your follower Oculus circles, try and jump into the potion circles that you spawn, and yeah, just try and do damage. The further away, the more damage you do with the Zais, but the harder and harder it is to actually hit stuff. So you've just got to kind of manage your 2 cheat deaths. We've got the potency rune on Blood Rush for the armor. I think that makes sense because just the armor will help us out with toughness. I don't have much recovery in terms of life per hit or anything like that. Yeah. Now the gem in the helm, I've gone cooldown because I like a little bit more time on bone armor, a little bit more access to Blood Rush. I've played with a topaz to help with the essence. That's fine, no problem with that. I've played with a amethyst for a little bit more toughness. Doesn't add that much. It's probably about 7 or 8% toughness, so probably not worth it. I think the cooldown gem is the way to go. If you're doing crimsons though, cooldown would be more damage, so that would probably be a much stronger choice. But if you are feeling squishy with the crimsons, then you can go the topaz, and that will keep you with, because every resource cost reduction is damage reduction. Every cooldown point is more damage with the crimsons. Can't remember if I said that. Now the runs are like 3 minutes to 4 minutes. Yeah, a nice map, you can certainly get it under the 3 minute time. Something will cause you problems in this build though. So if there's a lot of projectiles, it's hard to get away from them. If you've got missile dampening, that's a bit of a pain in the arse. You've got to get really on top of that to kill it. Shielding is just a pain for everybody. Waller is a pain for everybody. Juggernaut really hurts the Necromancer because the Crispins, because of the Bane of the Trapped. You're losing a lot of damage on a Juggernaut. So those 4-minute runs are going to be crappy mob types, crappy elites. The 3-minute runs are going to be lots of pylons, juicy density, blowing it up with area damage. There's a lot of RNG in Necro Speeds, more so than any other class, I think. But overall, pretty fun, and it's really nice to see Bone Spear in this very strong spot. So I think this is up there, probably one of the best solo speed farms in the game. I've been playing a lot of Gears of Dreadlands Demon Hunter just to try and get my account going. Gears of Dreadlands is always going to be faster because it's got big AoE coverage, but I think whereas the Gears of Dreadlands falls apart a little bit the higher up you go, the mechanics stop working quite as well. You know, you've got your squirts to try and keep up, and that gets much more difficult as you go up to this like 120 range. But I think Necro, because of area damage scaling, probably will be able to carry on just pumping through the tiers without kind of suffering that drop off. Now, one way to make this build faster is to put in Stuart's Greaves. Now, it is a little bit of a tricky one because you're giving up a modifier. You don't want to put it in a cube because you lose 300% minimum on damage, which seems unacceptable. So therefore, the only thing to come off will be the Crimsons, and again, it's double damage basically to take off the Guardians, not the Crimsons, sorry. So you can put in the Stuart's Greaves and run around really fast. You'd have to take Dainty's Binding, you'd have to get rid of Devouring Aura and put on the Aura of Frailty for that. You'd then maybe have to take Dark Reaping just to cover yourself for the resource recovery, or get used to doing a bit more Grim Scything, I guess. But honestly, I love Stuart's Greaves. They're like one of my favourite items in the game. It pains me to make a Necro build without these, but that said, double damage is just a tough one to give up. Maybe later on in the season when this Guardian set's not making that much of a difference, you could maybe play a couple of tiers down, take Stuart's Greaves and make it much zippier for the move speed. But yeah, at the moment I'm just struggling to put them on because the toughness and the damage of the Guardians is just too good, I'm afraid. Right, so that's been the build. I hope you enjoyed Bone Spear. It's cleared someone's cleared 150 with Bone Spear, so that does kind of show the power of the build. I'm going to keep building it. We'll see where we end up on the season. I've been the Filthy Casual. Hope you enjoyed the video. Take it easy, guys. Peace.